Hey guys, how's it going? Today's video is going to be an unhaul. Now, I don't tend to do unhauls because my problem with it has always been once I own a book, I want to read it and give it a chance, but once I read it, I want to keep it so I can, see that I read it. And I've just realized that I don't need to do that anymore. I have lots of space and I have lots of books, and it's okay not to own every single book. So I went through and cleared up my shelves. Hey, Comment. Comment helped. And I'm going to be going through them and telling you which ones I'm unhauling and why. The first ones are the easiest, and that's books that I have multiple copies of. First is Journey into Darkness by Michael Chiappetta. I really liked this book. It was not a good book. If you don't know, it is the fictional story of the wrestler Kane. His whole fictional backstory and everything, they made it into a novel, and as a wrestling fan, it was so fun to read. It was cheesy and ridiculous and very, late 90s wrestling, but I really thought this was really fun, but I own 2 copies, and I don't need 2 copies, so I'm getting rid of one of them. The next 2 are A Tale of Two Cities and David Copperfield, both by Charles Dickens. I have read both of these books, and I did enjoy both of these books, but I also have, you can see it right there, a Charles Dickens box set, and I just like the way that looks all together, and I don't need 2 copies of these, so I'm getting rid of them. Also, if you can see it right there, yes, I do have 2 copies of Great Expectations, but in my defense, that's because that copy is my dad's copy, and I also have one in the box set. Thank you! So it makes sense to keep both of them. Next was another really easy choice, and it is the only book I've ever DNF'd. That is Bitten by Kelly Armstrong. I didn't realize going into this that this was such an erotic book, and I'm not super comfortable with erotica. It's not my cup of tea, and I just didn't enjoy reading this, and I think I DNF'd it at 50 pages, maybe 100 pages. I don't know. I didn't get that far into it, and if I didn't even finish reading the book, why would I keep it? Next, this one doesn't really count, but it is the sampler of The Fifth Wave. I worked at the movie theater at the time that this movie was coming out, and it was like a promotional item, and we all just did really bad dramatic readings of it, and it was funny because I don't like this at all. The movie didn't do all that great. From what I've heard of the book, I don't think I'm gonna like it. The writing is but I was keeping it because it was just a funny memory, but I'll still remember it without seeing this annoying little thing on my shelf, because also, it just doesn't fit nicely on the shelf. It's too small, it's too short, and I have no reason to keep it, so I'm getting rid of it. These next 2 I actually went back and forth on for a little bit, but I finally decided I am going to get rid of them, but that is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne and Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I read these, I didn't really like either of them. I didn't dislike either of them. This one I mildly disliked. This one I was super neutral about, and I was going to keep them just because they're classics and I felt like it's something that I should own. But if I read the book and didn't enjoy the book, I don't need to own the book. It's not like I'm still in school and might need them for a book report someday. And if I ever do want to reread them, they're classics. They're so easy to find. They're at every single library. So yeah, I don't need these. Next is Shockwave by Paul Ruditis. I read this and really didn't enjoy it. I love Star Trek, but I just didn't like the novelization. It was a cast of characters that I'm not super familiar with, and it's written almost like you have to see the episode and then read the book and you'll enjoy it, but there's not enough going on. I don't know. This on its own wasn't enjoyable, so I'm getting rid of it, which is also why I'm getting rid of this one, The Last Full Measure by Michael Martin and Andy Mangels. But same thing, it's the same cast of characters who I'm not really attached to, and I don't think that it's going to be much better than this one, so I'm just going to get rid of it now. Speaking of characters I have no attachment to, I am also going to be getting rid of books 1 and 2 of the Mortal Instruments series. I read these books, I read the whole series, and I made a whole video about it, so if you want more of my thoughts, I'll link it above and below. But I didn't enjoy these at all. I didn't like the series, I didn't like the characters. I own the first 2 books because I owned them from before, but I'm not going to reread them, I'm not going to own the rest of the series, and I didn't like them, so I'm just going to donate them. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of is The Sacred Bones by Michael Burns. I didn't like this. It looked really interesting. I picked it up at a flea market, so I only spent a couple bucks on it, but it looked really intriguing and I liked the concept. The execution was just really bad. I didn't like any of the characters. They were really flat and bland. I didn't like the way that the mystery played out. I hated the solution. I thought it was such a cop-out, and the one interesting part of the story was a really cheap cop-out at the ending as well. So it just was a super disappointing book, and I'm never going to reread it, so I'm getting rid of it. These next three I was actually really on the fence about, and I actively disliked all three of them. I really didn't like them. I have problems with them, etc. But for some reason, Ripley. But for some reason, I didn't want to get rid of them, because when I'm talking about books I dislike, I want to be able to bring them up. And I decided, no, that's stupid. I don't need that extra negativity around. And if I feel like talking about the books, I can put a picture up. It's fine. So the first one I'm going to be getting rid of is The Pleasure of My Company by Steve Martin. I've mentioned this book so many times. It is a terrible representation of OCD. The guy is a creep. It's not a well-written story. It's just... The only thing I enjoyed about it was almost funny seeing how bad it was. And that's not enough of a reason to keep a book, because I just had so many problems with this. I've ranted about it so many times, and that's it. That's all. I'm done talking about it. Goodbye. Next is another book that I've mentioned multiple times, The Skinning Tree by Srikumar Sen. This, first of all, was a poorly written book, like in a technical aspect. Like the formatting was messed up, there was a ton of typos and errors, and enough that it was really distracting. And I know that there's going to be mistakes and absolutely everything, but this was just so hard to read. It was also not at all what I expected, from the back blurb to the cover, and it's supposed to be this really dark, creepy, disturbing story, and it's not. It's just little boys in boarding school, and it's not that bad of a boarding school, and yeah, it was just not what I expected. I actively disliked reading it. I've mentioned it a couple times, and I don't want to keep it anymore. And the third one is one that I don't talk about much, because I either read it right before I started my channel or very early on in my channel. I think I've only mentioned it maybe once or twice, but I hated this book, and I'm going to be getting rid of it. And that is The Asylum for Wayward Victorian Girls by Emily Autumn. This sounded really cool. It looks like creepy, and this book again had so many errors and mistakes in it, and there were so many times, like at least 20 times that I remember, that it looks like the author just accidentally hit enter key in the middle of a paragraph, in the middle of a sentence, and then nobody noticed. Like, I don't know, it was so badly done, so messed up. There was just so many mistakes in this. Also, the story was really bland. I didn't like the writing style. I really did not like the author. I found that it was a feminist book, but not good feminism, just angry, man-hating, all men are evil feminism, and that's not feminism. And the author clearly has that views and is really heavy-handed at really portraying that. Like, this book essentially says that all men are abusers, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It gives feminism a bad name. Also, this book is so friggin' arrogant, and just the way that the author writes it. Also, the main character's name is Emily. Like, okay, if you're gonna name your main character after yourself, like, calm down. And also, like, just calm down. That's my advice for this author. Chill. There are like 16 pages in the back for the about the author and other promotion, and that's just a bit too much for me. Like, I'm just gonna read the about the author. See, now I'm mad. Now I'm gonna be ranting for a minute. About the author, Emily Autumn. Emily Autumn grew up by the sea in California, where she mastered the classical violin before going on to travel the world as a singing theatrical performer and author. Globally known for her genre-bending album Fight Like a Girl, which I've never heard of. Emily has also appeared as an actress, starring in Darren Lynn Bousman's musical fantasy films The Devil's Carnival and Alleluia, The Devil's Carnival. Never heard of those anyways. Emily's academic career ended abruptly at the age of 10 when she was removed from school to allow her the time to perfect her musical craft. Yet, despite her near-complete absence of formal education, her debut self-published novel, the early editions of The Asylum for Wayward Victorian Girls, seems to demonstrate some understanding of proper spelling and grammar. Upon the release of her 2007 Shakespearean-themed concept album, Opheliac, Emily found herself an overnight star in Germany's industrial rock scene and began touring extensively. With a Victorian burlesque-themed stage show and her signature heart painted on her cheek, a unifying symbol devoutly replicated by her international fanbase known as the Plague-Rats. Emily fast became a sensation throughout Europe and the United Kingdom before touring in America, South America, North America, and Russia. America and North America. Since its fully illustrated first edition hardcover release in 2008, The Asylum for Wayward Victorian Girls continues to increase in popularity as plague rats around the globe cover themselves in tattoos from its elaborate art, cosplay as its eccentric characters, both human and animal, write their own fan fiction, put on their own stage plays taking place in the asylum world, arrange group tea party meetups, and incorporate Emily's story into their own lives in virtually every imaginable way. No. No, I have never heard positive things about this book. I read it as part of a book club thing, and the vast majority of us, I think, it was a Facebook group, so it was kind of hard to keep track of the numbers, but I think it was like 80% of people DNF'd it because it was so bad, and nobody enjoyed it. Like, and also, how arrogant do you have to be like, oh yes, everybody's covering themselves in my tattoos of my beautiful book. Like, oh, it just is so annoying. I hate arrogance, like, especially to this level. Like, just calm down. And now I need to calm down. So, I don't want to keep this book. This book clearly makes me angry. I think it's stupid. I think the author is not someone I would personally get along with. And I'm going to leave it at that. So, I'm getting rid of this. These next ones are not nearly as bad. It's basically just books that have a series, and I'm not going to read the whole series, so I'm not going to read the books that I have. The first one is The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan. This is book 2 of the Heroes of Olympus series. I've never read any of these books. I've never read the Percy Jackson books. I do want to get to them eventually, but I don't need to own them all, and I don't need to own just book 2, so I'm just getting rid of it. Next are books 1 and 2 of His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. I have The Golden Compass and The Subtle Knife. I watched the Golden Compass movie. I'm assuming it's the same Golden Compass. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm assuming it is. I never actually looked into that. I just saw a movie called Golden Compass, and I happen to own a book called The Golden Compass. But that's a weird enough. Ripley, what are you doing? Yeah? Yeah, you? Okay, but be good up there. I have the first 2 books of these series, and every time I read the back, I think that it might be something I'm interested in, and then I just never get to it, and I keep forgetting what it's about, and I think that's just not a good sign, and I have enough books and series that I want to get to that I'm not going to get these ones, and if I ever change my mind, I'll go to the library or something and I'll try to find copies, but for now, I just don't think I'm going to read the series. And finally, I have books 1 and 2 of the Everworld series by K.A. Applegate. I have Search for Senna and Land of Loss. These books, I really intended to read them eventually. First of all, the covers are really cool. I really like them, and they also have like a second cover inside, which is neat. That's cool. And the synopsis sounded interesting and everything, but I looked it up like a couple weeks ago, and it's like 14 books in the series. So even though they're pretty and they sound mildly interesting, I don't think I'm going to buy a dozen new books, and they're just taking up shelf space that they don't need to be taken up. So yeah, I really intended to read them, but I don't think I will. So there we go. Those are the 21 books that I am unhauling. Honestly, it feels really good because I've been holding on to those books for so long, and I think I'm going to be happier without those books on my shelf, either taking up space or just books that I know I'm never going to read, just staring at me wanting to be read. So yeah, I think that that's a good idea. I think that getting rid of the books that I didn't like is a good idea, and overall, even though I'm not much of an unhaul type person, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that went great. So that is all I have for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please click the like button to let me know, and subscribe to stay up to date with the rest of my videos. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, usually reading or writing related. So I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, have a great day. Bye.